into a bar anywhere in the world and you're likely to find a pool table. They're so common we take them for granted. But making sure the surface of a pool table is perfectly flat is a surprisingly tough engineering problem. So, how do they do it? Our search for the secret of pool tables has taken us to Italy. Because, surprising as it may seem, parts of the pool table in your local bar are more than 1 million years old. To begin with, you need a volcano. And here in Genoa, they've got a really good one. Extraordinary as it may seem, most pool tables began life as hot ash from a volcano. And over several million years, that volcanic ash has been transformed into the best material suitable for making the playing surface. Slate. But not all slate is the same. What makes Italian slate perfect for pool tables is that it has a much lower quartz content than other types, so it's very strong and also very elastic, so it's less likely to shatter. Which is just as well, because there's only one way to get to it. Using a combination of dynamite and heavy-duty chainsaws, Italian miners supply 1/3 of all the slate used in pool tables around the world. This piece alone holds enough to make 7 tables and is ultimately destined for the bars of New York. You can't just chop this huge chunk of rock into pool table-sized pieces, so the first task is to slice the rock into manageable slabs. For that, they use this giant saw, which cuts the rock into thick sheets, like a giant egg slicer. To avoid cracking the slate, it must be cut slowly. But cutting generates a massive amount of heat, so the blades are constantly cooled with water. Because slate is formed from a series of layers that sit one on top of another, every cut has to be made along this line of cleavage. Unlike wood, however, which warps along its grain, slate's rigid structure, formed slowly over vast timescales, means that if it's cut in the right direction, it will produce thin slabs of uniform thickness. Once sliced, the slate is cut to the exact dimensions of the pool table being built. In this case, 2 meters. At this point, the edges are still sharp, so they're fed into a diamond grindstone, which buffs every side to make it smooth and level. A 4th machine then cuts out the holes on the corners and the sides of the table, before a robot arm adds a bevel and smooths off the edges still further. But there is no substitute for the human eye, and so the corner pockets are finally filed down by hand. That completes the work in Italy. For the next stage in the process, we travel to the country which invented billiards and snooker. After a journey by boat, road and forklift truck, the slate tabletops arrive here in Manchester, in the north of England. The first task is to cover them in a 21-ounce felt. This needs to be both hard-wearing and have an even weave, so a wool-nylon blend called baize is used. These British craftsmen lay the cloth down, trim it off and smooth it into place. The side cushions need enough spring for the balls to bounce without losing too much of their kinetic energy, so vulcanized rubber is glued to a wood composite called MDF. The slate and cushions need a sturdy frame to hold them perfectly steady, and so a software-guided cutting machine is used to machine the different parts from MDF and wood. Once assembled, the pockets are fixed with rivets and the cushions are screwed in tight. Finally, all the internal workings, including the ball release mechanism, are locked in. The table is now ready to go to the customer. But since the slate itself weighs 100 kilograms and the table weighs another 150, it's delivered in 2 parts, and final assembly takes place on site. After a last-minute adjustment to get the levels absolutely true, this million-year-old pool table is finally ready for play. Sadly, whilst the table may be perfect, the same can't be said of the players.